Welcome to the Open Forum in the Villages, Florida podcast. In this show, we talk to leaders in the community, leaders of clubs, and interesting folks who live here in the Villages, to give perspectives of what is happening here in the Villages, Florida. We hope to add a new episode most Fridays at 9 a.m. We are a listener-supported podcast. There will be shout-outs for supporters in episodes. As a supporter, you will get a direct email link to Mike. In Season 5, we are making significant improvements and changes on an ongoing basis.
Now you can help me afford to keep making this podcast by becoming a supporter. First, a quick note about the podcast. It's available because I absolutely love doing it, despite the fact that it costs me probably more time than I can actually afford. Now, I can't buy back my time, but there is one thing that you can do that would be really helpful, and that is help me to afford making this podcast. You can do that by going to the website, openforuminthevillages.com, and clicking on the supporter box and making a small donation of $3 to $10 a month, and you can cancel at any time. Really, a small donation of $3 will still make a difference, and I'd really appreciate it. If you can't afford to do that, I completely understand. It's economically tough times for a lot of people, but there is something that you can do for free that can really help. If you want to, you can rate the podcast. You can give it 5 stars, or maybe even give it a review on whatever podcast application you're using. That will make a huge difference because we will be discovered by more people. If you're able to do that, we would massively appreciate it, and it would help keep this podcast going in 2024.
If you have a book that you would like to turn into an audiobook, let us know via email to mike@rothvoice.com. Hope you enjoy today's show.
This is Mike Roth on Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. I'm here today with Michael Prascak. Michael, before you came to the Villages, what did you do?
Good question. Well, I born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of 6, second oldest. I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. I grew up Catholic and still am. I went to Catholic grade school, public high school, and Duquesne University. My dad wanted me to be an accountant, a CPA, and that's what I studied. But by the time I graduated with my accounting degree, that was the last thing I wanted to do. So I stayed on, got a part-time job with the university, actually, and then stayed on to get my MBA, hoping that would broaden my employment changes and, opportunities at that time. During that course of that time, I met my wife, my college sweetheart, Marianne. We met dancing. One of my side pastimes is dancing. I've enjoyed that. We've enjoyed that as a couple throughout our marriage. I've had a number of jobs throughout my career, but they were all surrounding an IT role. Back in the day, 1983, computers were still mainframe based and as large as a small department building. In fact, that was my first job I was assistant registrar at Duquesne University for a number of years. That was my first professional career assignment. And I took the university from a punch card system to an online registration system. So back at that day, 1983, that was revolutionary.
1983.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I remember buying my first personal computer. It was a digital research, DR CPM, CPM machine.
Yeah.
It had 2 floppy disks.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought it because I was opening up a consulting practice and we had to write proposals and recommendations. Man, that was so much better than the typewriter.
Yeah. Mine was a leading edge Model D, which was one of the first IBM compatibles, 1985, cost me $1,500, 2 floppies. And I remember I just bought a new laptop, which was like $300. Yeah.
Right.
But back, so it's actually got good productivity in the computer world. Anyhow, so most of my job training in the IT was on the job and I had to learn, as the technology evolved.
And it keeps changing.
And it's never ending. Yeah.
It's never ending.
I worked varieties. I actually worked for myself as a systems consultant. I was the computer guy for a number of small businesses, did that for a while. I worked as the product IT manager. Back then, even my titles evolved. First, it was data processing, then information technology, information science. I don't even know what IT is, the term today.
Today, you'd be a cloud expert.
Cloud expert, yeah.
A weatherman.
There you go. worked for a geotechnical engineering firm in Pittsburgh, actually helped start up a software division of a consulting company in Pittsburgh. I then worked for a electrical manufacturing and building products wholesaler. And then lastly, a big major bank for the last 10, 12 years, which involuntarily retired me last year. So here I am in the Villages.
So what do you do in the Villages for fun?
Oh, I love trying new things. I've got many, many talents. Woodworking was a major, major factor in moving here. The two wood shops they have, I had my own wood shop, made a lot of things in woodworking, furniture, building cabinets, coffered ceilings, loft beds, a lot of stuff. And I sold all that to come to the Villages because there wasn't room in the house or the garage. Woodworking is one of the things I do. I belong to the club there.
Oh, you belong to the club?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I found out last night Doc Shabinsky is a member of the club.
So is Steve Mendelson.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I bumped into him. What are you doing? Chicken lips and frog tails, one of his Louisiana lines.
Yeah.
That was but probably the funnest thing I do that's also good exercise is water volleyball. In particular, the split splash. I'm able to do that with my wife, and we both have a blast with that. We do water aerobics once a week.
Do you wear a sweatsuit?
During the winter months, yeah, I have a wetsuit top, neoprene, which keeps you warm.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the water's, 82, 83 degrees. If it's windy or 65 or 70, but usually we wait till it's 70 degrees and a little bit sunny and not too much wind to jump in, but we have fun, a lot of fun with that. And then I also belong to this improvisation theater club. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I have heard of that.
Yeah. So that's been a lot of fun and putting on the shows with my co-host and my director. So yeah, so here I thought I would be playing, took up pickleball a couple years ago, coming to here. It was in Statesville, North Carolina, where we moved from. And I thought I'd be playing pickleball 2 or 3 times a week. Well, here, I don't have time to do that. I barely get into a pickleball thing once or twice a month. And I've lost all my skill, whatever I had. So I don't do that. I also don't golf. But the Villages, there's so much to do and so much to try that not golfing and not pickleballing, I still have plenty to do. I also joined the Deepwater Fishing Club. I want to go on a few trips. I joined recently the Little Rascals Men's Club. I've shot pool with a couple guys going to their events.
What is the Little Rascals Men's Club all about? I've never heard of that one.
Well, okay. Just as it sounds, it's a men's only club doing guy kind of things. We organize, but we do have events that the women can, for instance, we just had a Mardi Gras party at one of the centers, had a blast, and they had, live entertainment. We go to horse races. So we'll go on a fishing trip, shot pool at Pimlico last week, just, pool set. Billiard. Billiards, pool table. I got to say, billiards around here, not pool.
Yeah, well, that's got water in it.
Yeah.
and Pimlico is a racetrack in Maryland.
Yeah, and also in England, too. I looked up. Anyhow, so that's what I do. And then recently, I just launched and started freelancing voiceover work. I'm actually in production of my first audiobook, which will be on Amazon, Audible. So I'm pretty excited about that. I built a recording acoustically soundproofed booth in my house. I used my woodworking skills to build a foldable, portable, breakdown phone booth.
Okay, that's high wife approval.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
I've done in this studio.
Lucky
has been much.
Luckily, you had a whole room. We didn't have as much room as we did, so it was as we were determining the site. At first it was the garage, and then the floor of the room, but it couldn't be by glass, and so anyhow. I made a portable knockdown room and made space for it, so that's working out so far.
Oh, good.
Thanks.
What's ahead for you on the horizon?
Ahead for me on the horizon. One of my bucket list items is to get a U.S. patent. Kind of a self-taught engineer. I wanted to be an engineer. My dad talked me into being a CPA, and I've forgiven him for that. God rest his soul.
So you're a CPA too?
I'm a degreed accountant, but I never got my certification.
Okay.
So it was just, I guess, a career as an IT. But I've always been a very, very avid handyman. You name it. Electrical, plumbing, woodworking, siding, roofing. I've built sheds, deck, furniture, building cabinets, coffered ceilings, all kind of things. And so I've always got a project going on, one or two, and landscaping as well. I've always made various gadgets and sort of inventions. I would think that they're unique. None of them commercially viable or nothing that I need to go on the Shark Tank show and see what I can do. But I did develop one item that could be used for common household maintenance chore. I taught myself CAD and had it 3D printed, and it actually worked as I suspected. So I made some improvements, and I've got version 2, so that's like on the back burner now. I would love to do that.
Are you a 3D printer?
I don't have my own 3D printer. I haven't invested in that. Again, space is at a premium in my house. Mm-hmm. We're actually still unpacking. We only moved to the Villages here. Not only, but people call us, oh, well, you're new. It 8 months ago, last June.
Well, I'm here 7 years and I've been unpacked in the attic.
Marianne, you listen to this. We just threw out like 4 or 5 this past week, so it's been a process. Well, we've been married to each other and only to each other for 40 years. So that you accumulate a lot of memories and a lot of stuff. So we've had to painfully go through some of that, but it's also been enjoyable. We were just looking at pictures, oh my gosh, from 20 years ago when you had to print your pictures and photo albums and things like that. So it brought back some sweet memories as well.
Yeah. And some of that stuff is good because you can pass it down to the kids and get rid of it.
If the kids want it, but you got to figure that out or get it digitally stored or whatnot. So,
it's funny. When I was in my younger 20s, I was a fanatic on taking slides. I must have had 3,000 slides when I moved here. And my granddaughter Monica was in photography college, and she had access to slide scanners. And so I said, hey, Monica, would you mind transposing these slides into JPEG files, photos on the computer? She said, sure, I have plenty of time.
You're still waiting for it?
No.
Oh, okay. She got it?
She sent me...
Wow. 3,000?
About 3,000 slides.
DVDs? Back. Oh, joy.
Memory sticks.
Yeah.
DVDs are almost obsolete today.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Almost, I was at the Magic Club last week, and they were giving away magic training videos. So I picked one up. It was a VHS tape.
We still have a VHS recorder.
I have tapes. 2 of them in the attic.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if they still work. They've only been seasoned up there for 7 years.
I'm hanging on to mine in case the Smithsonian wants them. Yeah, they're museum pieces.
You hang on to them for a few more years. You can put them on eBay for $3,000 each.
Probably.
I have one that is rather special. It's a high definition VHS machine, which they made only for a couple of years. They called them VHSs.
Oh, I barely remember that. Yeah, vaguely remember.
And they had a hell of a price tag on them.
Yeah, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's some of the unique and interesting things that you've done?
Wow. Well, I have 3 first place trophies in sandcastle building in Myrtle Beach. Strictly amateur. I don't make a living. You've seen all these wild ones that are 10 feet tall and take an army. This is one-man castles and something like I have a pretty good artist. I actually could be an artist. I've chosen not to, but I enjoy art in my pastime, sculpture, wood carving, painting, things like that. So I combine sculpting into enjoying the beach and have done some magnificent castles, if I am humbly stating, such that first place trophies.
You have to bring some pictures into improv.
I would love to, yeah. I also have 5 ribbons in home beer brewing. I was an avid beer brewer for many years, and that was sort of the other channel of my career. I had a full-time job in IT, but I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and made several attempts. I actually owned 12 rental units before I bought my own house at age 30. None of that worked out. I tried worm farming. That didn't work out. When I was into software, I developed a package for specialty printers. That didn't pan out. I joined, like I said, a startup software division. I expected to be during the .com or .bomb era. And I expected to have an island as a result of that with all the money that was flying around, but that didn't pan out. So, but I did start and own a microbrewery in North Carolina, and that didn't work out.
What was the name of the beer?
The name of the brewery was Lake Norman Brewing Company in Mooresville, North Carolina, and it was you name it, if I could do it wrong, I did it wrong. And so after lots of big money on that, and so after 3.5 years, I sold it. And then
did you ever get any product to the market?
Oh, yeah. I had, like I said, a brewery. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had, here's our names. We had, I can't remember now, Bass Ackwards Brown Ale, Man Overboard IPA. We had a high gravity blonde beer we called the High Maintenance Blonde, and wakeboard wheat, all kind of, we had we were at festivals. We had our own brewery.
Creative names.
And thank you, yeah.
I bet the labels were creative, too.
The labels were very creative. I actually sculpted the tap handle, which resembled a vintage 10-horsepower outboard motor. So it looked like an antique outboard motor. And we had our product in about 10 or so different bars and venues and restaurants around the Mooresville area. And like I said, that bombed. But I did it. I tried it. And like I said, made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned from that. So I haven't given up my dream of owning my own business or doing something entrepreneurial. So we'll see what that's down on the road as well. But one more interesting thing I've done, I cut off the front end of my first car, which was a 1970 Pontiac Catalina.
That was a big car, full-size car.
Oh, my God. It was 9 miles long. You could fit 6 crates of chickens in the trunk. I mean, I used to sleep in the back seat across 6 feet, and I'm 6'3" without touching the doors. Yeah, it was enormous, but it looked like I cut off the front 1.5 feet, like with a laser. I then designed and built a bracketing system hanging on a wall. And so I had it and rewired the headlights and turning lights and the horn. And I had it hanging up, and I've been carrying it around with me for the past 38 years. I then eventually it was in 3 different garages. It was in my ski house. And I had it lastly as lawn art in a little shelter that I made in the backyard up in Statesville, and there was no place to bring it down here, and I had to part with that and sell that. So that was an interesting piece of sculpture and engineering.
Probably would have looked very good on the wall of the master bedroom.
Yes. I somehow I didn't get the vote from Mary Ann on that one, but that would have been fine with me or pots. What do they call it? Shabby chic or industrial chic in the living room, but.
Well, could have fit in the garage. Turn the garage into a man cave.
It couldn't have fit in the garage, yeah.
You hang it on the wall?
It wasn't even enough wall space in my garage to bring it. So I had to part with it as we were downsizing and had to get rid of some stuff. So unfortunately
Were you actually able to sell it?
Yeah. I mean,
everyone would want the front 1.5 feet of a Pontiac.
Yeah. I mean, I had multiple offers, yeah. But so eventually I had to sell that to somebody who was going to put it in his man cave.
Yeah. One of the few advantages of some of the houses in the other major community here, top of the world, is they build man caves into the garage for you, an air-conditioned room, which is, in quotation marks, man cave.
Yeah. Well, I just saw one coming, a sign that coming, the caves, looks like that concept off of 466, north of Walmart.
There is a place in Wildwood, right opposite Brownwood, called the VIP Garage, where you can rent I think it's 2,500 square foot garage with a little air-conditioned office.
Wow.
Air-conditioned space on the inside, high bays, running water.
Yeah.
And there are a few businesses in there.
That's a popular thing. And I've heard of in places you can put a deed. They put a deed on your.
These, I understand, are rentals.
Yeah.
They rent them for $2,500 a month for the full size.
Wow.
And they will divide it into 3 spaces.
Oh.
For those people in the villages who have many extra cars.
Yeah.
And now a tip on Alzheimer's from Dr. Craig Curtis.
Yeah.
Dr. Curtis, can you talk about alcohol use and Alzheimer's?
Yes, Mike. They have had studies out for years that show those that have 1 to 2 drinks a day actually have a lower risk of heart attack or stroke. And in a study published...
That's interesting. That means that people who totally abstain from alcohol have a higher risk?
That's a difficult question, Mike. It's yes, those that abstain from alcohol, not with Alzheimer's disease, but actually had a slightly higher risk of heart attack and stroke. However, so this was a study published in June of 2023 in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. And they showed for the first time that those that had 1 to 2 drinks per day, it was associated with lower risk of heart attack or stroke. And they found out it was because of long-term reductions in stress signaling in the brain. So essentially, they had less stress, which we've always known is a risk factor for a heart attack or stroke. But the American College of Cardiology currently is not advocating for the use of alcohol to reduce your risk of heart attack or strokes because of other concerning effects of alcohol on health.
Thank you, Dr. Curtis.
With over 20 years of experience studying brain health, Dr. Curtis's goal is to educate the village's community on how to live a longer, healthier life. To learn more, visit his website, craigcurtismd.com, or call 352-500-5252 to attend a free seminar.
And I hope to continue my improv work, and I've had a lot of fun with that, and the cast and the crew and even the directors. Yeah, they've been fortuitous, so I'm going to hone my skills and have a lot of fun with that.
Good. So
a lot of fun.
In the Improv Club, we have something called the Playbook on the website for members only. Have you read through the playbooks?
Yes, not every one of them, but I have looked at some, and particularly if I miss a meeting, I'll say, like, well, what'd they do? And things like that, for sure.
Norma Robinson really keeps that up very well now.
Does a great job.
So that's important to understand what the scenes are all about, what the ropes are.
Yep.
Not the words that you're going to use, just the ropes.
Okay.
Good. Hey, Michael, thanks for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me, Mike.
And how does someone get a hold of you if they want you to read their book? Why don't you give them a sample of how you would read a book?
I
got a book over there.
Flat-footed, yeah. I'm thinking, well, this first book was written called A Tale of Nations, Tales of Midnight. I ought to get this right. By Antonio Mulapa. And she wrote, it's sort of a student teacher book where she took 16 nations and then wrote 10 or 12 verses about the culture of that country and food and history, and made it into sort of a poem. So they were all like 4-line stanzas, but I've been told I have a great, deep voice. I could be the voice of God, but it was recommended that I just use my natural voice, my talking voice. I said, well, that makes sense. That way I don't have to slip up. But I do want to get a couple pieces I'm looking to do. Sci-fi, or I used to play an online game and I'd come in and be the monster voice. And things like that. So, but let me get something to read.
Here.
When you got something. I try to vary the
randomly pick a page in the book.
The pitch, yeah. Okay.
This is a book on caregiving to dementia.
Folks with dementia. All right. Fosters emotional health. Regular gratitude practice has been linked to improved emotional health, reducing feelings of depression and anxiety. For caregivers who may experience emotional burnout, gratitude can serve as an emotional balm, soothing stress and promoting healing. So there you go.
Okay.
Well, contact the author and things like that. I had spent January building my booth, and I hadn't put together even my profile or this, that, and the other thing. So I auditioned for 2 books on February 8th. February 10th, I got an offer to do one of them, and February 12th, I accepted. So I've been busy with that. I didn't even have audio examples or a website or things like that. So I got to do catch up on promotion. So I'm right into production right now.
Mm-hmm. So how long do you think it'll take you to produce the book?
Yeah. Well,
so it's a comedy.
It's a learning curve for sure. I'll probably end up with 1 hour recorded material. And at my pace now, it's taking me about an hour and a half to do each 4-minute segment. So 1 hour is going to probably take me 40 hours at least. Yeah, I probably put much into that. But
so if you were going to bill your time.
Yeah. Well,
so let's figure out the value.
Okay. Well, like I said, this is my marketing technique, so it's not really costing me an extra penny to produce this other than my time, and time is valuable. But now that I'm semi-retired, and I bought, but that's the first question. Well, how do you get paid, or how much are you getting paid? Well, I took this on a royalty basis, strict. So for every book that this sells, I get a 20% royalty for the next 7 years. So I may make $50, I may make $500.
No, but my question
I'm not worried. Okay, go ahead.
was if you were billing for your time
Yeah.
at a reasonable rate, based on the speed that you're going, how much do you think you would have charged cash money to do the reading of the book?
Well, put it this way. In my IT contracting days, I got anywhere from $50 to $65 an hour.
Let's take the
W2.
bottom number, $50.
$50 an hour. Yeah, I'd be tickled pink if I got that. I don't see that coming anytime soon.
Okay, so $50, and how many hours do you think it'll take based at the current reading rate?
Let's say 50.
50 times 50,
$2,500.
$2,500.
Yeah. So that would be my break even on that point if it was indeed worth that much. So we'll see.
So some authors, I'm going to do a presentation in a couple of weeks, or it would already happen, with an author in the Villages who wrote some very interesting non-fiction books that are based on facts. And he has a child book series called The Monsters of Monstrovia. And he wanted it produced so that it could be packaged as a podcast, but later resold as a children's cartoon series.
Oh, okay.
And he found an outside producer to do it. Okay. And the sound is absolutely A1 with background music. Sounds like multiple actors or actresses. He spent $25,000.
Yeah.
But he did get a pitch deck for Hollywood.
Okay. Well, that's a big project. So
yeah,
some of the other things that I've seen, they're going for $200. The ones that get paid up front are their voice is going for $200 to $400 per finished hour of recording.
Per finished hour.
So if it's an
8-hour book.
And it takes you at least three times as much, you got to do your own editing and,
right.
reread it.
At $50, you said $200 per finished hour.
Yeah.
And it's 8 hours of finished work. 8 times 50 is $4,000.
Yeah. So, or that's back down to the $50 range. Yeah. So not too bad. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
Great. If someone wants to talk to you about recording their book, how should they do that, Michael?
I don't know.
You have an email address that they could use?
I'll put down my email, yeah. I'm a big also Monty Python fan, so I've had my email since the early 90s. One of the first characters in the first episode was Arthur Twoshed. So my email is atwosheds, ATWOSHEDS @yahoo.com. So another... maybe that's where I draw most of my improv comedy from. I reach back. Oh, there was a Monty Python. I've also, in my career, been in done a little bit of acting. I've been in 2 Nutcrackers. I was sang, dance, and I had a few words in Mamma Mia on a stage. Also did the Odd Couple female version. Most people don't know there was a female version. So drawing upon all those actors, that experience, as well as Monty Python the year before I started, they had Spam-A-Lot as their annual big summer show. And I just kicked myself that I was 1 year too late, because that would have been my crowning achievement. That, and if I was able to do a Sherlock Holmes, I'd be happy. That'd be on my bucket list. So great. Anyhow, there's my email. Thanks, Mike.
Great. Thanks for joining us today, Mike.
Okay, cool.
Remember, our next episode will be released next Friday at 9 a.m. Should you want to become a major supporter of the show or have questions, please contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. This is a shout out for supporters Tweak Coleman, Ed Williams, and major supporter Dr. Craig Curtis at K2 in the Villages. If you know someone who should be on the show, contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. We thank everyone for listening to the show. The content of the show is copyrighted by Roth Voice 2024, all rights reserved.